Hey everyone, welcome to Rapid Review. So today we're going to talk about episode 8 of The Last of Us, titled When We Are in Need. So once again, we get a fantastic episode of television. Joel is on the brink of death, and Ellie's on a desperate mission to save him. The opening scene is reminiscent of the second Lone Wolf and Cub movie, and I almost expected her to chew up some food and feed it to him. In this episode, the roles are reversed as Ellie becomes Joel's protector. Ellie manages to shoot and kill a deer, and this is where we meet Scott Shepherd's David. David's a preacher and a cult leader, and I loved his performance. He's believable as a charismatic leader, so much so that I actually kind of believed him. I liked the initial interaction between he and Ellie calls him on his BS, and even though she called him, I still kind of believed him, or at least I wanted to. They work out a compromise in which they give Ellie penicillin in exchange for half of the deer, and then we get the big reveal, which is that the man that they killed in episode 5, that Joel and Ellie killed in episode 5, was part of David's community. When David and his men return, Ellie again plays protector as she tries to lure the men away from Joel, but she's captured. There's a bit of suspension of disbelief because Joel goes from the brink of death to a murder machine over the course of maybe a day or two. I know penicillin is a miracle drug, but I don't know that it's that much of a miracle. We find out that David's legitimately a psychopath and wants to take Ellie in as his bride, or so it seems. We also find out that David's been feeding the dead of his community to his people, unbeknownst to them. Now, the scene brings up an interesting moral question, which is, at which point is cannibalism okay? Is it okay if the survival of your community hinges on it? Is it really evil at that point? There are some interesting philosophical questions, but we don't really get much time to sit with them. While I like the interaction between Ellie and David, including Ellie not having any of it and breaking his finger and doing whatever she could to escape, some of it rang a little untrue for me. If you allow me to put on my pop psychologist hat for a moment, I feel like a person that takes pleasure in breaking people and pulling them over into his side, that's as narcissistic as David, I don't think he would have given up on Ellie so quickly, because I think it would have been a failure to him. I feel like he would have spent much more time, days, months even, to try to break her before deciding to kill her. So just for me, in my perspective, and this is just maybe watching too much media, I feel like a guy like that, after a couple of failed attempts, is not going to turn, especially because he sees her as so important and so different from all of the other people that are following him. And so this brings me kind of to my critique of the episode, if there is one. I think we needed a little bit more time. Honestly, this would have worked as a 2 to 3 episode arc. David's the kind of big bad that you could have for an entire season. And in fact, if this was The Walking Dead, this entire episode would have been an entire season, or at a minimum half of a season. But instead, they just breeze through the story. And to me, it loses some of the dramatic effect because we're never left to contemplate what's going on and to think about what could happen in the future. Regardless, the ending is great and it does work for me, as Ellie manages to escape on her own before finding Joel. It subverts expectations because we think Joel, who's in Terminator mode, is going to rescue her, but Ellie's able to do it all on her own. And they get that emotional reunion where the walls that I've been talking about all season are finally taken down, with Joel even calling Ellie baby girl. It was an emotional reunion and it works really well. I'll talk more about my overall critiques during my full season review, but this was another great episode of TV. It covers a lot of ground in 45 minutes, and we get to the point where Joel and Ellie truly show their affection for one another in a way that the show has been building towards. So again, thought this episode was great, and I give it a 9. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. We can be found on all social media platforms at portable_whole. And if you want audio-only podcasts, we're on all major platforms at Portable Whole Publishing. And email us at portablewholepub@gmail.com.